So what's melody? Melody is the part in all of those songs that you can sing. Um, so like your favorite band and you're singing in the shower, you know all the lyrics to their song. Those lyrics are set to what is called a melody. When you know the fluctuation of notes and things of that order. What I'm going to do now is play a quick melody that you may or may not recognize. And this is a melody with obviously no lyrics. Here it comes. Okay, so that's a fairly popular melody. You might recognize some other melodies from the likes of maybe like Star Wars, the movie, you know, that theme song that they have at the front of that. There's a song called Smoke on the Water, which has a great guitar melody in it. Um, the theme to The Simpsons, the theme that the ice cream truck plays, all those little things that you hear every day throughout your life. Those are melody. So what we're going to do now is try to make a connection between the scale and those melodies. How do you get to that? So, like for instance, this theme that I played just a minute ago, which is called Jesu, Joy of Man's Desires from Beethoven. If you visualize this scale that we've been playing, the G major scale, the melody falls directly into that scale. You're going to notice I'm keeping true to my form in terms of which fingers I'm using, getting that pinky in there as much as I can. And here it is again. I'll play it a little slower anyway, and try to visualize the scale living around that melody. Okay, so that's what the scale is actually for. You're not gonna, most people are like, oh, scales, they're gonna make me be this wizard guitar player, and you're gonna be able to burn all over the guitar and things. Well, it's for so many other things, creative things, and all these things that, nobody ever actually seems to tell you about, other than they're gonna make you play fast. So on top of that, they're also gonna be musical. So one thing you could attempt to do over the scales, that's kind of what the jam tracks are actually for, is to take the scale and do some creative things with it. So you could just sit there and just tinker around with it. Maybe I'll go. Okay, so that might not be the greatest melody that you've ever heard in your life, but at least it was something, and that's where we're trying to get to. You're just trying to start to get something to come out of that. Okay? Now, what's ultimately going to happen through the course of these lessons and this whole melody idea is there's actually a way, it's a lot easier, I guess, to say it, to create a melody is easier to do when you're using chords, or when there's chords existing, or when you're playing with other musicians. So like you could teach this scale to your friend or whatever, and then you guys can play the scale together and create things with it. So back to this whole chord idea and the scale idea. Since this is called a scale, each of the notes in the scale is called a scale note. Okay? Now, what happens when a chord is introduced, like for instance, this is called the G major scale, guess what you can use it over? The G major chord. Okay? Now, if you've been studying finding the notes up and down your neck, here's another way that you can start to kind of tie the two things together. You could go through this chord, the G major chord, and actually figure out what are all of the individual notes in here. So like for instance, this is a G, and if you don't know it, you'll just have to take my word for it. You have a G, B, D, G, B, G, or G, B, D, G, B, G. Okay? Music is based off of, like I said in the first tape, melody and harmony. So the word melody is the singable part, but the word harmony is when two things work together. So when you have a G chord with, whatever notes it has, what you want to do is use those notes inside the scale as often as you can. So something maybe like this. Once again, actually, it's a G, B, D, G, B, G. So really there's only 3 notes, G, B, D. We'll talk about that at a later time. What I'm going to do is just highlight those notes throughout the scale. So I might start, like, for instance, on a B note here. Right? B, G, A. I'm just kind of using the notes that are in that chord that is happening. There's a D note out of the G chord. There's a B. There's a D. I'm going to start from a B here. And then a G. Okay? So you just, really music is 2 and 2. If somebody else is playing, a G note, then it's probably a good idea that you play a G note too, because automatically it's going to work. Okay? So just to bring that all into a simple little package, when a chord is introduced, there's certain notes that are in it, and in the scale, those same notes exist that are in that chord. Thus, you can play the two things simultaneously, and they should sound good, and they'll sound better as you continue to practice it. Okay, so if for right now, go to the jam tracks and just fool around with the scale and do some stuff with it and see what you can get it to sound like, other than just. Okay, have fun.